Gail Quinn exiting, there are no black women coaches currently in the WNBA. And everybody trying to stomp on each other. It's reckless for Matt to dismiss it as a cash grab. They're I just want to make sure I'm good to go. Okay, perfect. Yep. All right. Welcome to the No Bull Podcast, or welcome back to the No Bull Podcast. I am your host, Brianna Bull, and I'm bringing you everything basketball. Because if you know bull, you know ball. Let's get into it. I'm really excited to be here. Happy Sunday. I know it's been a football Sunday. If you're from Baltimore, I'm very sorry for your loss. It was a tough one. But I am going to talk basketball today on this football Sunday. Get you ready for the week. I'm excited. I haven't been on in a while, so I want to hop right into it. We have a jam-packed agenda here. And on the side, we're talking Chris Paul, Ja Morant, Giannis, and of course, the CBA negotiations that are currently still going on in the WNBA. And so let's get into it. All right. First here on the docket is Chris Paul, CP. We can't call him CP3 no more, but he'll forever be CP3 to us, right? All right, so I want to talk about the Chris Paul situation, but not necessarily the distractions I believe the internet is trying to point us away from. And yes, I do believe the Clippers have that much power in their claws and their roots are that much embedded into the media that they have the power to distract us the way that they've been doing. And they've been doing it all 2025 and maybe even before that. But I want to focus on 2025 because this is where it's really starting to come to light for this franchise and how lost they are with these type of people as the leadership at the helm. And because they're continually throwing these Hall of Famer superstars under the bus to protect themselves from what we already know. Y'all suck. You haven't been great in a long time. The last time you were great was because of Chris Paul. So I'm already kind of cold opening this right now. But I think they're in the middle of another identity crisis. And somehow they always find a way to blame the most decorated vet on the team. And right now it's Chris Paul. All right. But he's no longer on the team. He was sent home. And the Clippers are claiming it's because his role wasn't clear. And they need to evaluate their developing guards. Chris Dunn is a developing guard that you need to evaluate. Cam Christie. No offense, Cam. I'm sorry. I don't want you to catch no strays, but come on. What, Ray J. Dennis? These are Bogdan Bogdanovic, who, don't get me wrong, he's great. He's hurt right now. So what are we evaluating? So whatever the Clippers have put out in this like the media talking about, we just need to look at our guards and Chris Paul's role wasn't clear. Actually, it was clear because what you did was during the preseason, you hyped him up. You used him as a media ploy to get us all excited about this season. And out of everybody that was brought back, for this Clippers new team, I feel like the main guy that everybody was super excited for was Chris Paul. Like, come on. So you're telling me that his role wasn't clear? Yeah, no, it wasn't clear to him, but it was very clear to y'all. And I think which is odd to me too, because he's a 19-year veteran, right? He's one of the best point guards ever to drop in the league. And also, he's been the player commissioner president before, like recently, like 3 years ago. The player commissioner president right now is Fred VanVleet. I think last year it was CJ McCollum. And the year before that, it was Chris Paul. And if you don't know what that is, the player commissioner president is the go-between between the players and the league. They're the person, they're like the liaison. They speak for everyone. And so I think what really bothers me is that the Clippers are lying, as they are always want to do. They're lying, and the fact that for Chris Paul, okay, I feel like for his side of the story, he's saying that the communication wasn't clear. And but it's not clear for their side, because what was happening was Chris Paul was speaking up against the players, holding them accountable, holding the leadership accountable, probably running around the organization, came back home. He probably came back home like, what the hell is going on around here? This ain't about to fly. I think he was as honest and forthright and forthcoming as possible. And it's weird to me that the Clippers didn't anticipate him being like that. Chris Paul has always been like that guy who wasn't afraid to speak up, wasn't afraid to kind of act out, and I'm not even going to put a negative connotation to the acting out, because we see Chris Paul can play real dirty on the court, but one thing he's not going to do is back down. So I'm very confused why they thought what it seems like they were trying to do is bring him in, thought he would just be grateful for the little bit of minutes they were giving him. Not when y'all are 5-16 though. That's not going to fly. Not with a winner, a cold-blooded killer like Chris Paul. So that just goes to show how delusional and how far gone this Clippers organization has really gone with Steve Ballmer and Dennis Wong and whoever else. And yeah, Steve, like I'm not letting you get off scot clear with this one, because you kind of got off earlier with the whole Kawhi Leonard situation. And if you don't remember what happened, it was weeks and weeks of the media picking Kawhi Leonard apart, making fun of his injury, his lack of availability, and then pretty much saying he was getting this shady $28 million deal under the table, and somehow the media made it all Kawhi Leonard's fault. For example, Stephen A. We know Stephen A. is like, he's a puppet, and there's puppet masters who make him dance, and he'll do the little dance. And his assignment was to distract us and put Kawhi Leonard down. I'm not saying Kawhi can't take no accountability for those shady business deals, but these are things that have been happening across the league. This is a culture, this is a pattern, and somehow it got out. Well, we know how it got out. That one journalist who's like very adamant on exposing the league, but it's going to get us nowhere, because once again, we're being distracted, and these Hall of Famers are getting thrown under the bus, and the common denominator is the Clippers. And I'm sure it's happening across the league, but the Clippers are getting so sloppy. They want to call Kawhi Leonard lazy and unreliable. The Clippers are getting real lazy and unreliable as an organization. And I just feel like, yeah, the Clippers are going to let Chris Paul take the heat publicly, but I think he's a media darling. I think people love Chris Paul. This is going to blow up in their face, and I'm saying it. I'm saying it right now. Like, right now my concern for Chris Paul is, where is he going to spend his final year? Because we saw that he announced how he's retiring. And I really hope that Chris Paul lands somewhere that he can finish out with dignity. He could finish out being himself, that he can finish out not a part of a toxic culture. So I think this is a blessing and a curse for Chris Paul. It sucks that, I mean, you remember in his media that he was crying about how excited he was to be back home. So for him to get sent home like this, I really hope his PR team and his media team continue to kind of go on this, like, hopefully he has this image going into an organization and he ends up the hero. And the Clippers, I hope they don't even make the playoffs. No offense, I'm sorry to James Harden, and that's about it. No, I bang with Zubac too, and John Collins too. I don't want y'all catching strays with me saying this, but I really don't want y'all going this far. No, like, free everybody. Justice for Chris Paul, free James Harden, free John Collins, free Zubac. Everybody else is like, eh. I mean, free Cam Christie too. I like Max Christie for the sake of his brother. So I don't know. I'm going into a little bit of a spiral, but still, I think it's messed up. And justice for Chris Paul. I don't see any chatter in the chat. It's very, very dry. I understand football Sunday, and I also haven't been on in a while, so it's okay. But just remember, if you know bull, you know ball. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe and drop your take, because I really do want to hear it. All right, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is I was going to say Ja Morant. Okay. And yes, I haven't been on in a while. And we all know that there's that scuffle that happened with Ja Morant and Klay Thompson. However, I'm not necessarily going to be talking specifically about this fight that they had, this little debacle, and everybody's already reacted to it, blah, blah, blah. What I want to focus on is Ja Morant. And we talked about the patterns of the Clippers earlier, just now. Now I want to talk about the pattern of Ja Morant. Patterns are getting exposed, okay? Because for Ja Morant to be in, what is he in, his third? No, he's in his seventh season. Seventh, y'all. Seventh season for the Grizzlies. And in that 7 seasons, he's averaged 22.4 points, 7.4 assists, 4.7 rebounds, and he played in 319 regular season games in 7 seasons. Yeah, you do the math. If it's 82 regular season games, he played in 319 amongst 7 of those seasons. And in those 7 seasons, he was selected to play in 2 All-Star games. So 2 out of the 7 seasons. Yes, he won Rookie of the Year, and he got 1 Most Improved Player award. So that's cool for 7 seasons in the league, right? That's okay. I want to talk about not necessarily his highlights. I don't want to talk about his potential, and I don't want to talk about the sneakers, even though the sneakers are hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting me a pair of Jaws. The sneakers are hard. I want to talk about the pattern. Because at some point, I think the talent stops being the headline, and my question starts becoming like there's no longer headlines for Ja Morant other than negativity. I have a question for you, Ja. What are your priorities? What type of legacy are you trying to leave behind? Because I don't know what bug you got. You got the hype bug for the little dance you did, and the kids was doing the little dance. Mind you, the little kids love you. The little kids. It's starting to remind me of like Little Pump and the Island Boys. Island Boys and 6ix9ine. All those guys that were blowing up and getting super hot, but now you see nobody comes to their concerts. This is like Ja Morant's like the basketball version of that. I'm not even kidding. Because after the situation with Klay Thompson, it wasn't about the trash talk. Because I think players do that all the time. And Klay Thompson, I'm pretty sure in the 13 seasons he's been in the league, this is not the first time someone's trash talked him. But this is the first time it's elicited this type of response. And I think Ja Morant's self-awareness is just out the window. Like he needs to, I don't know what he needs somebody, I don't know what camp is behind him, but his camp needs to get him together. He needs to start really making hard decisions about what type of player that you want to be and what type of man do you want to present yourself to be in this spotlight, because you keep finding yourself in the spotlight and it's nothing but negative. And what's crazy is that Klay wasn't even going after Ja to begin with, but Ja inserted himself into the drama that he doesn't need. We all know he doesn't need any more drama because he's already dealing with internal conflict within his own organization. So why then are you seeking conflict outside of it? Not only are you seeking conflict outside of it, but the player you choose is Klay Thompson, a 4-time NBA champion. Klay Thompson. Come on, man. Klay, who has an astounding reputation around the league, and although he is not the same player, he's 35 years old, Ja. He's almost a decade older than you, but he's been in the league almost double the time of you, and he's done a lot more than you have, and he's played a lot longer. And despite his injuries, he's managed to come back and still try to do something. We're not out here saying he needs to be doing great things. I mean, he's on the Mavericks, and he's probably like the 5th option, maybe the 4th. He's not the face of the league, and he's not the face of his team, or he's never been up to be the face of the league. He was a splash bro, but still, like, what you're not thinking, bro. At that moment, you weren't even playing in the game. You weren't even suited up. You were in a Nike Tech suit, I think, acting like a YN. It's just not a good look. And I think Ja Morant spends too much energy on the wrong things. And let's be real, Ja's window to become the superstar and even the face of the league that Memphis invested in is closing. That the NBA is investing in is closing. And I think, I don't know if there's ever been a time, because I don't follow his media thing to the T, so I don't know what Ja Morant is always saying. the things he's made and said. Maybe someone brought up to him one time about him being the face of the league, and maybe I should have did more research. However, with LeBron James exiting and all these other stars are pretty much, they're not focused on being the face of the league. Maybe they're chasing individual accolades, or maybe some of them are still chasing championships. However, it was supposed to be you being ushered in. You or Anthony Edwards, like like you had so much potential to be the face of the league, and I thought at one point it was about to be you. And then here come the guns. Here come the injuries and just not playing the rest of the season. Here comes all the foolishness, and you're just adding on to it. And SGA could be the face of the league, but he's an international player, and even though the NBA is going global, I still don't think they want an international player to be the face of the league. They want someone who's American and born in the US and fully, repping one of the states to be the face of the league. And right now we don't have that. And it's sad. Ja's 26 years old. He's a franchise star. And your team finished in 6th last year, and you were barely a part of that. He just hasn't taken his next step because he's fallen into these same patterns, and he's tripping over some of the same obstacles that he creates for himself. He is literally his own worst enemy right now. And Memphis doesn't need all that extra like they don't need all that. They got coaching turnover, player turnovers, playoff setbacks. There's a lot of things happening in Memphis, and despite all of that, they still managed to finish with a great record last year. Maybe I said 6. I think they finished 2nd last year. Now that I'm really starting to think about it, they were 2nd in the Western Conference. I think they finished last year. Maybe 2nd or 6th. It's top 10, top 5, possibly, but still. I think their main struggle has been their franchise star not getting it together. And yeah, I'm putting all that pressure on Ja. I'm putting all that pressure on you. I think you can rise up to the occasion. We just haven't seen it. And I'm nervous that, like I said, that window for us to see it for you is closing. Nervous for you, Ja. I don't even think you're taking this that serious. I just don't want to see you in the next 6 months. I would love to see a good headline for you. I don't want to see any more of this YN behavior. You can't argue with veterans, clash with the staff, act confused, and not taking any, like Clay said, you're not taking any accountability for what's going on. I think that's the first step. But the clock's going to start ticking. Like this year, I don't know about y'all, but this year flew by fast. You're not getting any younger. So come on. We're all watching. The NBA's watching. I'm sure obviously Memphis is watching. And your fans are watching. Your fans are watching, bro. And time's running out for Ja. Uncheck real quick, see if there are any comments. Okay, no comments in the chat. A little dry tonight, but that's okay. Make sure you drop your take if you haven't already. Definitely want to hear from you. Drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. And I guess to wrap it up for the Ja Morant thing, the clock's ticking and Memphis needs you. Despite their conflict, they still need you. You're still their star. This season, I wanted to show you. This season, this is I'm about to show you Ja Morant stats for this season so far. He's played in 12 games this season. Okay. He's averaged in this regular season 17.9 points, 3.5 rebounds, 7.6 assists, and he has 1 steal per game. But that's not really the main stat that I want to point out, and you won't see it on here, but I looked it up. In total, he's had 45 turnovers in this season. In these 12 games, he's had 45 turnovers. That means he's averaging almost 4 turnovers, 3.8 turnovers per game. Ja Morant. Hey, you sitting up here calling Klay Thompson a bum? Come on, man. Come on, get it together. All right. Moving on. Move on to the next topic, which is Giannis. And I always trip up on his last name, so I'm not gonna say it right now. But we all know who Giannis is, okay? He's the star franchise guy in the Bucks. He is a MVP final champion. He's a champion. He's a MVP. Like he's just that guy. And Giannis has been that guy for a while, and we all know what he's capable of. And the Bucks know what he's capable of. But apparently, I think they've been playing with my man's because recently Giannis scrubbed his IG. Now, I know the internet's gonna do what the internet's always gonna do. Okay. They saw a social media move and they immediately started screaming trade request. They immediately started screaming, Giannis is getting out of there. And I want to break down the Giannis situation without the theatrics because I think what's happening is bigger than just an IG wipe. And if you've truly followed Giannis throughout his career, you know exactly why. I think Giannis, as great as he is, one thing Giannis has always been is loyal. This man is loyal. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you. Seeing him wipe his IG was kind of shocking to me because like I just thought he was gonna ride or die for the Bucks forever. Because it just seems like he's just a content man. He's okay with what he has, what he's built, his reputation, like, he's okay with it. But then on the other side, you start thinking like, no, I think Giannis, despite having the DTD injury tag all last year and having knee issues and whatever other body issues, he still managed to show up for almost every single game. I think he only missed a few last year. And I'm pretty sure they made him sit out. It was like they had to pry him off the court. He's just that guy. He's gonna show up and just get to work. I've always admired that about Giannis. And I just think he's over and over, time and time again, he's chosen Milwaukee when a whole lot of other people didn't. And he brought them a championship. He brought them a really good culture. He's an excellent leader, leads by example, vocal leader. He's given them everything, right? So he does wipe the photos off, except for I think his championship photo and an NBA Cup photo with the Bucks. But he didn't unfollow the team. He still follows the team. There was not really a public statement made, and there was no cryptic captions. So he just wiped it off. And I think him doing that was very strategic. It was like a warning almost. And they talk about that in some articles too, like Sham and AP report. There's a couple articles kind of talk about his motive and why Giannis did what he did. And again, it was with respect. It was a level of respect that Giannis did that. And usually when players do wipe their social medias, it's like theatrics. They want out. They're demanding out. They've already, like, I think stuff's already hit the fan. But I think with Giannis, it was more so letting them know, like, I still want to be here, but y'all got to stop playing with me. So I think again, it's a franchise. It's about the bottom dollar these days, or it's always been, I guess. But it's a franchise that I think have been probably very lackluster or not making too many decisions that are favorable to Giannis, and despite everything he's given them, he probably did this to draw some attention to the situation, maybe to position himself for a different contract that he could leverage to possibly stay in Milwaukee. But of course, Sports Illustrated and other main source medias, they did drop an article kind of discussing any potential landing spots for Giannis, like the Lakers, the Knicks, Warriors, and even OKC. When I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, why not go to the Warriors? They've needed a solid big for a very long time." And Steph, I don't think they've given up that hope of adding like that superstar team like they've had before. It's like a formula that I think they've stuck to and they want to go back to it because they're not developing guys like Brandon Podolski or Kuminga. Not saying they could be franchise guys, but you don't see them making any efforts to really bring anybody to develop them at a good age that's still suitable, because I think Giannis is still young, at least young enough. He's not as old as Steph. I gotta look up his age. I think he's like my age. He's not as old as Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. You know, he's still got some years in him to maybe do a little something. But then I saw somewhere where Giannis said that he's not trying to live in California because the taxes are too high. I'm like, this guy is hilarious. So with Giannis's efficiency and his ability to stay healthy. He's dealing with some injuries this year, but I think a part of it is fatigue. Fatigue with this franchise that he's playing for. And I think he probably isn't so adamant about getting back out on the court because he's probably thinking, why am I giving all of my body to this franchise when they're still not putting in any efforts to build something solid around me? I mean, look at what they traded away. They already were struggling with defense, and you decide to trade away Chris Middleton. Okay. And now you got Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis. Now, Kevin Porter Jr., since Damian Lillard has left, has stepped up and produced great numbers. Now, he was hurt, so I'm hoping that he can stay healthy as we continue on here. But that's still not enough. That is not enough. Gary Trent Jr. has been nowhere to be found. It's just a lot of issues going on. And I think AJ Green just got hurt. So they lost their shooter. It's just not looking good in Milwaukee right now. And for Giannis specifically, I'm kind of curious to see what's about to happen before this trade deadline. So I think we should buckle up or get your saddle ready. I don't even know the term. But I think he is gearing up to leave. But the question is, where is he going to go? And how great of a shift this league will have. This is like KD level movement. When KD moved to the Warriors, it was a huge deal. And I think wherever Giannis lands, it's gonna shake the league. Whether he stays on the whether he stays east or he goes west, it's gonna shake the whole league up, man. It's gonna be crazy, and I can't wait because this has already been a solid year so far. And Giannis leaving, good for Giannis. Okay, just checking the chat. Still nothing in the chat, but that's okay. I appreciate y'all. If you have any thoughts, even if you don't agree with something I said, drop your take. But just know, if you know bull, you know va. Okay, let's get to our next topic. Our last final topic of tonight is the WNBA Civil War. And I always list it as the Civil War. Uh So, because it's between the WNBA and the players, the WNBPA, which is the Women's National Basketball Players Association. And what I'm finding as I have these conversations with people ongoing about the WNBA is they're not fully well versed or educated on what's actually happening surrounding these negotiations, let alone what CBA even stands for. So, CBA is the collective bargaining agreement. And this year, after about 16 years or so, the WNBPA finally opted out of that contract and they entered into renegotiations with the WNBA. Now, we all know, if you haven't heard, I'm pretty sure you at least heard this. That's when the FISA Collier has spoken out about the heinous remarks that Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA, has made about women in the league, and they were not good. So that, on top of the renegotiation, on top of the October 31st deadline where they were supposed to have worked that agreement out by now, they have had to extend it. And they extended it a whole 30 days to November 30th. Well, guys, it is December 7th, and they still have yet to reach an agreement. So for all of you who are unsure of what the heck I'm talking about, or maybe you know a little bit and you're wondering and you're curious about what all of it looks like, I'm going to give you a brief breakdown of the timeline and what to expect in these coming weeks and what has also transpired so far. So they got another extension because, again, we are days past their first extension. So now we're in the second extension, and they can continue extending it, I feel like, as much as they can, but their season starts in April. And despite them yet to reach an agreement, they still went ahead and did the draft lottery pick. So we know what order and who's getting what, etc. But the longer that they remain at a deadlock for these negotiations, the longer we're not going to have a draft. They're going to be pushing things back and cutting it really close. And like, if you're not really thinking about what that means, is if you don't have a CBA agreement, or you don't have an agreement, a contract, you can't draft people, and And if you can't draft people, then the season can't start. And that's what it is, a lockout. So if they can't reach an agreement, then there's going to be women coming out of college looking to get drafted. And if they do reach an agreement, they could get drafted. Say they don't even reach an agreement till March, for example. The season's supposed to start in April. Are they going to push the season back? I don't think so. They signed a media deal, meaning they have to present something on the national television air. It's just getting real nasty, right? And as we're entering into the next year, the next deadline is January 9th. I had to take a dramatic pause to let all of that sink in and sink in for you. Let it seep in, marinate, like y'all turkeys did last week or the week before. Let it marinate, okay? So let me just again break it down. Let me tell you what the league has offered. So the league has offered a maximum player salary raise. So 2 players on a team, the top players, sorry, not 2, the top players could now see a $1 million base salary with a revenue sharing bonus earning upwards of 1.2 million. So it's not like you're getting increased equity essentially, but you would have to be a top player in order for you to get a bonus of additional revenue sharing in some type of capacity. A minimum salary bumped. So under the new proposal, so the maximum is 1 million and the minimum would be $220,000 to $225,000, which is a huge jump from the 2025 minimum. And I think that base salary is currently at like around 100 grand. So they're seeing a significant, quote unquote, significant jump to their minimum salary. So that means every player on a WNBA team, and that would be 15 teams headed into 2026, would be making a minimum of 220 grand to 225 grand per year. And the maximum they could see is $1 million. Now, if I'm going to take a pause real quick, because throughout me covering the season, I was looking into, before they hit their trade deadline, I was kind of trying to see what teams had what type of aprons to move around. Unlike the NBA, the WNBA has a hard salary cap. Like if you look into the apron, the blue aprons or whatever it's called in the NBA, you see teams are like $76 million in debt, meaning they can go over the salary cap by almost $100 million if they wanted to, because that's a soft salary cap. Whereas though the WNBA has a hard salary cap, there are certain salaries they cannot go over. So when I was looking at like how much money each team had to spend, like you can see, for example, from just my memory, like the Chicago Sky, they had a $225,000 salary cap that they still hadn't used yet. So I was like, that's maybe two players or maybe one really good player. And I'm like, that's still kind of chump change, no offense. Like the highest I think I saw was like 300 grand. And that was with the Valkyries, I believe. I don't want to be too wrong with this, but definitely look into that, because it's very interesting to see how much money that each team actually had to give. And there were some teams that only had like 36 grand to give. Like they're struggling to pay their players. The third thing that the league offered was a league-wide salary cap increase, projected to jump from $1.5 million per team to $5 million per team for 2026. So that ties into what I was just trying to tell y'all, meaning these teams at one point probably were working with under $1 million salary cap for their whole team in general, and now they're going to shift to having a $5 million salary cap, so a little more money to work with and room to work with to pay their players. Now, it sounds solid on paper, maybe. Raises, better pay, more money for top talent and bottom talent, right? But the players, the union, they're like, nah, homie, that's not what we're asking for, because I think they're so focused on the bigger picture. And if you check out my last live stream, you see how my mind has even changed as I've been covering this and as we've gone along through these negotiations. As a fan, I'm starting to understand the women a little bit more, because I'm not going to lie, I was on the side of these women are ungrateful. However, I've shifted my perspective, because what I see, what they're asking for, I see the bigger long-term picture. They are trying to change and revolutionize the payment for women across the world. Because if they can do it, who knows what other sports teams could do it? I mean, WNBA basketball trailblazed the way for women to have their own union. Do y'all realize the WNBA was the first ever professional league to start a union for women? So I see what they're saying. I see the potential that they have. And if they let up now, who knows the next time they'll get this opportunity again to put women at least on even playing ground when it comes to earning salary. Okay. So what the players in union are fighting for, the big ask remains is the revenue sharing. That is the ultimate thing. And while the league proposed a revenue sharing bonus, it still doesn't equate. They're right now earning like a max 10% of the equity share, while men in the NBA, they're earning 50% of the revenue share. So it's not just about a one-time raise. They want a system where the players' pay grows as the league grows. And that's why it's important that they get the revenue share, not revenue bonuses that could be handed out on contingencies. They want security. They want solidity. They want to know that as this league gets more money, we are going to get more money and the future generations are going to get more money as well. It's not going to be in 30 years we're going to be having this conversation again because they want to be locked in. And I don't think they're asking for too much. That's actually pretty reasonable considering all the revenue that these women have, all the attention they've already brought in. It's only going to get better. I see more excitement for women's basketball even at the college and high school level now that I've seen ever. So I don't think it's going to stop with just the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses and the Nafisa Colliers of the world. I believe this is going to continue on because they set the way and the women are following through. All right. So what the women are asking for is they want 49 to 51% of revenue sharing. And under the current CBA, WNBA players reportedly get a much smaller slice, like I was saying, less than 10% or around 10%. The union, again, isn't just about dollars. They're demanding stable work conditions. They want charter flights, improved travel standards, parental leave, enhanced retirement benefits, and better support for players who are mothers. It is a little different. It is a little different. It's different for women when it comes to being a mom, because we're the ones who are actually carrying the child. So that does look a little different. And there's a lot of risk and hazards that go into that, especially if you're a woman who has to play after they're playing after they give in birth. I feel like just the dynamics are different. And in the charter flights. Now I did some research though. The WNBA has invested over $25 million into transportation for flights in general, where we are seeing more teams chartering their flights and having private jets or at least getting private access to the planes. So they have seen improvements for that. However, I'm not with these women all the time. And as they add more teams and franchises, that means there's going to be more games played. And if there's more games played, then I think they want better accommodations than what they're seeing now. That's what they're fighting for, because they're thinking in their mind, if we agree to this right now, who's to say if they're going to improve these conditions for us as more games are added to the docket? I believe right now they're playing like 42 to 47 games per season. Maybe it's like 42 regular games. So that's half of what the NBA is playing, but they only have 13 teams. Now they're adding 15 teams by 2028 or 2029. I think they'll have almost 18 to 20 teams. So that means more games are going to be played. That means a longer season. So this renegotiation is so crucial, man. It's so crucial. They also want structural reform, rethinking like rookie scale deals, core tags, contract links, and giving young players a real shot for a free agency sooner, because the WNBA's current model drags rookies into long-term restrictions. For example, I think Angel Reese, she signed like a 3-year deal. And I think there's some restrictions regarding that as well. I got to look more into it. But I'm just trying to give you an example, or at least a blueprint or a snapshot of what's going on here. Because it's important while we're watching this all unfold, what we make sure we're not getting distracted about. That we are focusing on the correct things and we're advocating and we're encouraging our stars, since they are driven by what we say. They really are. Like at the end of the day, we got more power than what I think these big companies lead on, because they're okay with us just slinging random crap out there that doesn't really matter when we just type in and saying anything. But if we get educated and we actually fight and advocate for true things in the comments, they're not going to be able to they're not going to be able to deny the fan base and the things that we want to see for the people that we're rooting for, that we're paying to see. We obviously care about them at some level. So take that care, mix it with some education, and make a real stance about what's going on. We need to see the women get positioned. It's not about right now. It's about the future. It's about the future. It's very important that they get it right. But if an agreement is not reached, the WNBA could face postponed training camps, delayed season start, and even strained trust among players, coaches, and us, the fans. And this is like, it's a lot of pressure right now. I don't think it's just pressure on the league, but it's pressure on these women too, because for them to get asked to get paid more, that means they're gonna have to play better. I'll be honest with you. I'm the type of person, I think about all sides and all things. Yes, I want the women to get this, but the attitudes that they had during the All-Star game, like, oh, we're just gonna go out here and BS it. Bro, we are not good enough to be doing that. Y'all gotta step up and really hoop. Start working on your calf muscles. Get some dunks in. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, we got to increase the level of play as well. Like, you can't just be asking for this and then not show up to work. I don't want y'all to get all Hollywood and diva on us like these NBA players are. Don't act like Ace Bailey's, but he's been playing a little bit better. But still, I just don't want to see, like, I don't want y'all to start getting paid and get these sneaker deals like John Morant and start acting like John Morant, because we already see where y'all tempers go. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we gotta have make sure it's equal play. This next WNBA All-Star game better be the best All-Star game we ever seen in our lives. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all to blood, sweat, and tears out there. Hoop like it's your last game. If you're gonna be asking for all this, that's what I want to keep in mind. And I'll say the same thing about these men. Do I believe their level of play matches the money that they get? No, not all the time. So as a fan, I'm hoping for that y'all get everything you asking for, but I'm also hoping that level of play continues to rise. Because for every young girl watching, every WNBA dreamer, this matters. It really matters. All right. I mean, today was like short and sweet. I had some thoughts. I'm gonna be live again tomorrow. I already have the show produced, so I'll be excited. It won't be as maybe serious as today's was, but I wanted to just emphasize the main point I wanted to get out about today, because I didn't really touch base on the court basketball. That's gonna be a little more tomorrow, but I wanted us to just make sure we're focused on the right things when we're reading these articles and when we're making our comments, that we are actually educated and that we are adding some type of value to the space of basketball community, because there's a lot of things up in the air right now that could shift the culture and shift the play style and what we're going to see in this next decade, in this next generation of play. And I don't want to hear y'all complaining later down the road when we had the power to make some change and make some action now. Don't think you don't have that power, because you do. And I just hope that we continue at the end of the day, see really good, honest basketball, honest, safe basketball, and that everybody's being compensated for what they're bringing to the court and the value that they bring to the table. So it has been a pleasure today. I'm really excited. I'm going to try to get these videos uploaded and distributed. And I appreciate all your support and listening. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And just remember, if you know bull, you know ball. All right, y'all. Holla.